it's time for our message from Senior Minister, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson. And I want to also let y'all know, Reverend Ray will also be giving a message this afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore. Wow. Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. Whew, okay. Here you go, Reverend Ray.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. So today we continue our conversation about what it means to go further together. Today's title is Share the Dream. So we are uniquely situated to foster a global community and a world that works for everyone. How? By sharing all the truths that we rely upon. Where in our individual lives, centers, communities, and world can we embody hope and oneness? Where can we invite others along for the journey in a way that is radically welcoming, loving, and inclusive? Because that's the key, right? How do we open up? How do we become the very demonstration of what we know universal laws and principles to be teaching, to be representing? William Arthur Ward says, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. Sounds good. It sounds all neat and spiffy. However, we have to know if that's the case, then what is the dream? And let us also be very mindful that a nightmare is also a type of dream. So if we're going to talk about living the dream, let us be very, very conscious and mindful of what type of dream, what is the quality of the dream. Because if a nightmare is a type of dream, oh, wait a minute, in many ways, around the world, the nightmare, the dream, is what is manifesting. So if we're going to shift this and change it, we need to get very clear, aware, mindfully engaged in the practice of shifting that, imagining something different in order to achieve something different. Centers for Spiritual Living, part of the evolutionary vision is envisioning a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience. In every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. Ooh, talk about a vision.
Talk about a vision.
Right? Because that means we must get to a point where we stop separating, compartmentalizing, putting it in Tupperware, that any of these things are separate things. The corporate is the corporate, that's not spiritual. The academic and the political are academic and political, they're not spiritual, but it's all spiritual. And we are providing sustainable structures. That means the old structures, the nightmare structures, the ineffective structures must be transcended, eradicated, removed, and replaced with structures that are effective. Timeless wisdom from our values document. Community service. We dedicate our time, talent, treasure, and expertise to the healthy and joyful evolution of our spiritual community, the community in which we live, and the greater community of the world. Continuous improvement. We consciously welcome more and more of the divine nature to be realized within us and as us, and revealed through our relationships, our choices and decisions, and our contributions to the world. So, take that in and meditate on that. That Once again, this is not about navel gazing. It's not about twiddling our thumbs. It's not about sitting in a corner and meditating, staring at the flame of a candle while doing nothing in the world to shift and change things for others. As I change my life and improve my life, it should and must affect others in like manner. If I don't do that, then it will affect others. We don't do this in isolation. So last week, if I'm not mistaken, one of the slides we talked about was we don't heal in isolation. We heal in community. Well, let us be mindful, if the community is not healthy, then we don't heal. We continue the dysfunction in community as well. So we have to be very clear on what does it mean to heal and ground ourselves in spiritual principle so that the village that is taking care of the children is a healthy, empowered, authentic village. Ernest Holmes says, one who uses the science of mind is a practical idealist, but not a dreamer. Now, didn't we just say about being the dream? We're going to get to that in a moment.
Okay, good.
First, let's look about idealistic. What does that even mean? Visionary, someone who is a thinker, a seer. The idea is if we are practical in our idealism, then we are a dreamer. The question is, do you act upon your dreams? Because see, that's the difference. When Holmes is saying be an idealist, but not a dreamer, he's referencing the type of people who just, thank you for the soundtrack, right? Because that's the inactive dreamer. That's just what? Spiritual masturbation. Like that's not creating anything other than, thank you for the soundtrack. But if we're going to truly be idealist, then we have to act. So we have to say, well, daydreaming about what? Thinking about what? Wishing about what? Getting out and about. See, if you just sit there and daydream about, I'm going to go hiking, I'm going to be out in nature, but you don't ever get up.
Come on.
You don't call, hey, Fifi, what you doing this weekend? You going to the park? You going out in nature? You mind if I tag along? Like, can I go with you? Like, if you don't engage your own body and practice in getting out and about, and you don't get in connection with other community members to get out and about, and you just, then what's actually happening? So the idea is, if we're really, really, really going to do it, then we have to do it. Don't just say it. Don't just think about it or daydream about it. Move your feet. Tracy just said, she provided a soundtrack for today. Tracy said, move. It feels like real church. Like I got the amen section over here. Like, yeah. Oh, filling in for, you're funny. So if we're going to get out and about, then it means we're living the dream. We're not just dreaming. We're living it. We're actively engaged in the practice of, from thought and feeling to word and deed, the mental equivalent is moving me forward to demonstrate and to walk the walk. As Tracy said, treat, dream, envision, and then move, then act, put it into action. Ernest Holmes says, too often, yeah, he didn't say it that way. That's just me. That's how I'm reading it. Too often, we sit around dreaming of great things to come, of big events that may transpire in the future, rather than seizing the opportunity that is always at hand to accomplish the things we are doing, whatever it may be, whatever those things may be. Seize the opportunity. Seize, that's a verb. Seize, take action. Seize, don't just sit around dreaming of. One day the world will be living so peacefully. And what? Stop singing, stop singing, stop singing about it. If you're not going, be about it and do about it and walk the walk, stop singing. Let those who are about change, transformation, and evolution, let them sing.
Wow.
Right? Therein lies the idea. We have to act. Now, since we're talking about singing, there's a song in Cinderella where it says, a dream is a wish your heart makes. A dream is a wish. In Science of Mind, in CSL, do we wish? No, we don't wish unless we're talking about willing, intentional statements of our holiness, right? So a dream is a willing, intentional statement that says, I recognize, understand who and what I am. And because when I speak, that word is the word of God. That word is the word of the universe. And that word is powerful. So a dream, a vision, is an intentional statement of divinity that the heart feels and the body acts upon. So what is your dream? What are you intentionally stating? John Lennon says, imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. In other words, imagine that there are no boundaries or borders. It's not hard to imagine that. Or is it? It's your imagination. You get to do whatever you want in your imagination. Right here, right now, you could close your eyes. If Minister Mo was here, she would do it ever so easily. See me with a unicorn horn and mermaid tail, merman tail, mer tail, and the whole 9 yards, jumping in the water with the dolphins, right? Like you can imagine that. Stop laughing at me, Robin. Like you could imagine that ever so easily. But can you imagine a world without borders? A world where we all interact together. He goes on to say, there's nothing to kill or die for. And there's no religion. In other words, there's no need for people to say, my religion is better and yours is not, or this is bad, and that's not even really. There's no need for any of that anymore. Can you imagine that? And then he goes on to say, you may say I am a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. You may say that I am a visionary, that I am a practical idealist, but I'm not the only one. Because I belong to a beloved community of dreamers, visionaries, doers, thinkers, manifestors, and creators. So I don't just have a dream, the dream has me. I am able to live, move, and have my beingness because this dream is not just Ray's dream. It is the dream of the universe to create, to manifest a new world, a world that works for all. So no matter how impossible the dream may seem, if we are willingly, intentionally making a statement of our divinity, then that impossible dream reminds us that I am infinite possibility in expression. And therefore, what I dream, I have what is needed to make it manifest. So it comes back to, well, then what is your dream? What is it that you are holding in your consciousness, anchoring in your heart? What is it that you believe to the very marrow of your bones, to the very cells of your being? What do you believe? What do you know? And what are you allowing that belief and knowing to cause you to show up, to do in the world? Ernest Holmes goes on to say, we should not expect the law of good to operate for us alone, shutting all others out. It is only that which we share with others that is really ours. So you can say, I love, 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 love. But if I don't love other people, if I don't express that love for other people, then I don't really have love. I have the words. I have the psychological ramblings of it's love. Not if you're not sharing it, it's not. Love is meant to be shared. For example, I can think, talk. I can think, speak. I can think, deliver a message. Get my point? I can think about it all I want. I can dream about it all I want. But until I open my mouth or use my hands to sign and share it, it's nothing but a thought. And it's a thought that I'm not acting upon. So it's that, thank you for the soundtrack. We should not expect the law of good to operate for us alone. It operates in community. It operates in collaboration. It operates in communication. It operates in, through, and as the manner in which we live, move, and have our beingness in relationship to ourselves, in relationship to one another, in relationship to the world itself, the planet itself, Gaia. How are we showing up in relationship? How are we sharing love and joy and light and laughter? Holmes says, the tree is not a person. All it does is to depend on nature. All it knows is to grow. So it never short circuits the divine energy that gives it life. Boom. A tree. What did you say? Mic drop, kaplow. A tree does not short circuit the divine energy that gives it life because it's not a person. In other words, do people short circuit the divine energy that gives them life? That is their life? In other words, it's there. The divine energy cannot technically be short circuited. This is linguistic convenience. It's there. Just like light is there, but we can dim it. We can put blinds and curtains up to shut it out. And like we can do things to obscure our experience of light, but light is there. Light is present. Electricity is present. It's present in the very atmosphere. It's present, but we can choose not to use it. We can choose not to access the divine energy. Is that what we're doing? Therein lies the question. Maybe I need to sit down and ask, when I don't share, am I short-circuiting the divine? Oh, pause, man. Because see, the idea is the law of circulation. As I give, I receive. But what if I don't give? If I don't give, if I don't plant the seeds, is there a harvest? If I don't tithe, is there a harvest? If I don't pray, is there an answered prayer? If I don't give, if I don't share, then what am I going to receive? A short-circuited, less effective, non-thriving, whatever words we want to choose. As I share, as I sow, then I reap. As I express love, there is more than enough love to be returned unto me. Am I willing to share? Am I willing to give? Because many of us don't give because we believe that the more I give, the less I get, the less I have because of lack and scarcity. We treat lack and scarcity like today's sermon, we're going to talk about the law of not enoughness. You know, the law of not enoughness says if you got $1 in your wallet and you buy that $1 coffee at Wawa, you got an empty wallet, except for the limit. And you can't buy anything with the limit. You can try to make a scarf, but it ain't going to do nothing, right? Lack and scarcity is not a law. It is not a principle. No. But the law of reciprocity is, as I give, I receive. The law of circulation is, as I give, I receive. It circulates. As my heart gives, as my lungs give, I receive. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else. To be yourself in that world is the greatest accomplishment. In other words, when the world wants you to be small and you know that yourself is expansiveness itself, it is ever expanding consciousness itself, that is the greatest accomplishment. To know who and what you are, no matter what is happening around you. No matter who says what, no matter how we are looked at, no matter what is said, to know you, know thyself. Because when you know, then you are able to grow and give from that knowing. If you have knowledge, if you have awareness, if you have truth, let others light their candles at this flame of. That's sharing it, being it. How you show up in the world is the very blessing of it. Science of Mind says, things exist in the universal mind as ideas. Ideas take form and become things in the concrete or the visible world. Thought calls things forth from the universal into expression. Thought and feeling and action calls things forth from the universal into expression. We're invited to move into this in greater ways of expression. I ran across this article on Yes Magazine, yesmagazine.com, where Parker Palmer was being interviewed, and as you can see, it says, know yourself and change the world. Know yourself and change the world. Well, what is that? What? I don't get it. So Sarah Van Gelder and Parker Palmer have this conversation, and she says, why does learning about the inner life, knowing about who and what you are, make you a better teacher, doctor, carpenter, parent, citizen? Parker Palmer replies and says, every line of work, every way that we show up is deepened by bringing all of our human capacities to bear upon what we are doing. And that includes our inner sensibilities, as well as our externally oriented knowledge and skills. The inner landscapes are better able, you get this, doctors who are acquainted with their inner landscapes are better skilled, better capable, better able to help their patients to draw upon their own healing powers of their own psyches and spirits. This inner landscape is, he refers to it as a three-dimensional sphere has at least three dimensions. Your cognitive and intellectual dimension, your emotional, psychological dimension, and your spiritual dimension. When we bring all of that into our lives, it benefits everyone we come in contact with. When we bring all of ourselves and share it, we improve the lives of others. In a conversation, scientist, physicist Neil deGrasse Tyson had a conversation with Larry King. And somewhere in the conversation, he said, do you want to live forever? And Larry King didn't even let the man finish it. Yes. And they go on to talk, and Neil deGrasse Tyson basically ends with saying, I don't want to live forever, because it is knowing that I'm going to die from this form that gives me the energy to move forward. He goes on to say, I fear living a life. I don't fear dying. I fear living a life where I could have accomplished something and I didn't. That's what I fear, not death. I fear not living my full potential. That's what I fear, not death. I fear not giving the most I could give to this world. That's what I fear, not death. Now, let's not give in to the idea of fear, but let us back up and ask, am I living all that I could accomplish in this life? Am I truly doing what I can do? Or am I letting, as Paulo Coelho says, there is only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. Am I letting my fears, my insecurities, which are fears, am I letting all of that stuff determine what I do, how I show up in the world? Because if I am, then I'm doing precisely what Neil deGrasse Tyson fears. I am not living up to my full potential. I am not giving from my overflow. Rather, I am walking the walk of lack and scarcity and insecurity, etc. I am withholding I am short-circuiting that divine energy. In essence, once again, linguistic convenience, because we can't shortchange, we can't short-circuit the universe. But our experience of it, we can numb ourselves to that. We can close the blinds to the light of our inner truths and realities, where we don't plug in and tap into it. It's our choice. Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson says, Tracy's laughing at me, I have already surpassed in my own life that which I at one time thought was impossible. Yeah, there was a time where there's no way I would have envisioned doing what I do now as a minister and a teacher and a whole bunch of other things, artist, because I didn't think it was possible. But where I am now, I've already surpassed all of those things that I thought were not possible. I will no longer let anyone tell me what I can and cannot be, do, or have. Because I hear from the naysayers on a regular. I hear people telling me, well, you can't do that. You're not old enough. You can't do that. You're not young enough. You can't do that. You're not whatever enough. You don't have, you can't have, you're whatever. No. I hear what you're saying, but I know that that which I am cannot be bound, cannot be imprisoned, cannot be squelched. That which I am is the universe itself, living, moving, and having its beingness as me. You don't get to tell it what it can and cannot be as me. I determine that. And I, with every thought, word, feeling, and deed, plug in, tune in, and choose to show up as that power, show up as that presence. I choose to dream a mighty dream into manifestation, in, through, and as this life. You don't get to tell me otherwise. My life is the perfect dream that I choose to manifest. And from the first time in 7th and 8th grade, when I first in Spanish class saw the musical Man of La Mancha, it has forever changed my life. It's one of the reasons why one of the tattoos on my neck is dream. You may dream. To know that whatever I hold in my beingness, I get to make it possible. I get to manifest it. So yes, I dream the impossible dream on a regular. And as the Queen told Alice, yeah, by breakfast, I have done 7, 8, 10, 15, 30 impossible things before breakfast. So I invite each one of us, dream the impossible dream. Do what at one point you felt you weren't worthy of. Choose differently. Dream bigger. Envision it and share it. Manifest it. I know you can, because I know who and what you are. This week, our homework, our project, our spiritual practices begin with journal. What is at least one dream that you have for your life? That's it. Just jot that down. What is one dream you have for your life? What fears prevent you from dreaming a bigger dream and from sharing your dreams? What have you always wanted to see or experience in your community? What dreams and what sharing will manifest this? Take the time, go through this. And once again, if you ever want copies of the slides or whatnot, contact Tracy or I, and we will make sure you get them, because these are some profound things for us to practice and deep dive in to manifest a different world, a different experience, not just for ourselves, but for our spiritual community, for the CSL community, for the New Thought community, for the Baltimore community, for the greater Baltimore community, for the East Coast community, for the United States of America. Like, you get my drift. But we have to do this deep dive in order to change this. What gaps do you see in the community that you believe could be filled by spirit as you? What gifts and talents, treasures do you bring, expertise do you bring that will help transform the community? And lastly, Not lastly, there's one more. Yeah, there's one more. How have you seen spirit work in the past in your experience? In a business setting or community setting? What unexpected gifts have you been witness to? Where have you seen the miraculous, the blessings show up? And then lastly, have a conversation with 3 diverse people about what you dream for yourself and what you dream for your beloved community. And we breathe as we prepare for our declaration this week. I will say it first and then together, if you feel so aligned. My dreams are the stuff of spirit itself. Together. My dreams are the stuff of spirit itself. Breathe and let that in. Breathe and let that in. Let that in and go to that place that Safi took us in the pre-service meditation. Go to that place where we are aligned, we are open, we are breathing, we are present. Where we are open and willing to communicate and be the communication of spirit. Breathe and recognize that all that was spoken, all that is being spoken, all that is being seen and heard and felt is how God acts upon itself. That there is no part of us, no way that we could ever be separate from the truth of our being, that we are all God and we are all good, and that even in the midst of certain challenges and experiences, this does not change the truth of our being. So recognizing that, we anchor and ground, recognizing that we know that the awesomeness that we are can never be short-circuited. The truth of our being is infinite and eternal. And it is right now. It is claimed as this experience. The good that we are in service goes out into the world, changing and transforming. We are living, moving, and having our beingness in a world that works for all. Breathe. Anchored in this goodness, anchored in the awareness, the gratitude that the law is already acting upon this and that this is already answered prayer, that every part of this service, prayer in motion. And so now service ends, but prayer as us, prayer embodied as us, continues to do what it does, answering, manifesting, and showing up as the dream made flesh. This is what is so, and the law says yes. And together we touch and agree, and we say yes, and so it is. Love you.